Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. In your headlines this evening.
Unfortunately, it had to come to this. It's a very sad day for our family. It's such a dark cloud that just came over our family.
A 13-year-old has been arrested this evening for stabbing a 19-year-old Mondeor schoolboy to death. Prepare for commuter chaos from Friday in Soweto. The Transport MEC has made good on his promise to shut down 6 taxi routes due to violence.
Anybody who has not been found guilty by a court of law is on the list.
The ANC defends its candidate list ahead of the May election, which includes people implicated in state capture. We start here. The scourge of violence at our schools continues. This morning, Kulani Matebula, a 19-year-old Mondeor school pupil, was stabbed to death outside the school gates. But this evening, a breakthrough. The police have taken in a 13-year-old boy in connection with the killing. They say more arrests are imminent as they're currently viewing CCTV footage of the killing. Linda Kuhle Kulu has that story.
An unimaginable sight for any parent. This mother has just lost her only child. Grade 11 pupil Kulani Matebula was on his way to school when he was attacked and stabbed here several times. His school principal found him lying on the ground, bleeding to death.
He didn't say anything. I could feel his pulse and his eyes were still open, and I could see that he was, still alive, but I could see that he was going. But he didn't respond to me.
It's left this family broken. Kulani's uncle says the young man wanted to make a difference in the world.
He wanted to be everything. He was so ambitious. Unfortunately, it had to come to this. It's a very sad day for our family. It's such a dark cloud that just came over our family.
Did he have siblings? Did he have siblings?
Young brothers and sisters?
No.
It's not just his family that feels the void. His emotional schoolmates were addressed by Gauteng Education MEC Banyazali Sufi.
And I'm standing in front of you, boys and girls, to persuade you, to plead with you, to beg you. No revenge, no revenge, no revenge.
Police have arrested a 13-year-old and are searching for 2 more suspects, believed to be minors. Linda Kuhle Kulu, Johannesburg.
Moving on now, it's going to be chaos on Friday in Soweto if you're planning to use public transport. 6 taxi routes and ranks will be shutting down for 3 months. Gauteng Transport MEC Ishmael Vadi has made good on a promise to shut down routes that are being fought over by rival taxi groups. 3 people have been killed in recent clashes. Now, he may be acting with their safety in mind, but commuters are not impressed, as Malungelo Boy reports.
Taxi operations run as normal on this disputed route in Dube. But come Friday, no taxis will be allowed to operate here. That's because this route and several others, including Maketa Store, Western Jabavu, Mofolo Sizwe Taxi Rank, Kwamtetwa Stores Rank, Maketa Garage, Uncle Tom's Hall in Orlando West and Dube Station Taxi Rank will be shut down from Friday until June 15th. Transport MEC Ishmael Vadi says his priority is the safety of commuters. 6 people have been injured in the recent violence. But commuters we spoke to say the decision to close the routes will leave them stranded.
No, I feel like it's very inconsiderate because us normal people, we have no other means of transportation. So if they close the road, they have no consideration about how we're going to get to work.
I have to go to school and I'm writing on Friday, so it's a bit stressful. I don't know what I'm going to do and how I'm going to go get to school.
I'm not prepared to use a bus. Why? Because of, if I go with a bus, I often come here at work late. Like for example, if I take a Rava, I take 3 buses to go to the station. In a taxi, I take only 1 taxi to get to work. So for me to come to work with a taxi, it's the simplest route for me.
Both Wata and Nandue have been locked in a meeting called by their mother body, the National Taxi Alliance. It's unclear whether they will challenge the decision in court or not.
The government says those who don't abide by the route closures will either be jailed for 6 months or fined 25,000 rand. Malungelo Boy, Dube, Soweto.
Now, this afternoon was the deadline for political parties to submit their candidate lists to the IEC ahead of the May election. The ANC has raised eyebrows with some controversial names on its list, notably Nomvula Mokonyane, Malusi Kigaba, Musebenzi Zwane and Batabile Dlamini. Now, Secretary General of the party, Ace Magashule, was asked about those more questionable names, a number of whom have been implicated in testimony at the State Capture Commission.
Anybody who has not been found guilty by a court of law is on the list.
Given the premise that you've been putting on the integrity of the ANC, don't you think having these people on the list is going to come with some serious reputational luggage for the ANC that is trying to renew itself?
I'm not sure. The ANC is on the ground campaigning. We are very confident that South Africans understand the ANC and love the ANC, and they will vote ANC.
Northwest residents brought parts of Vryburg to a standstill today. They've given local authorities an ultimatum: respond to our demands or else. A memorandum calling for the resignation of 2 mayors and municipal managers has been handed over. Our reporter Michael Apple has the details.
We are telling Suprama Umapilo today, his days of patriarch is over.
A ring of blue surrounds the Dr. Ruth Sekhamotsi Mompati District Municipality Office as the South African National Civic Organization makes its demands known. Besides wanting the mayors and municipal managers from Dr. Ruth Sekhamotsi Mompati and Naledi municipalities gone, top of the agenda is water.
Instead of feeding water into the reservoir so that the water can come out of the taps, they are putting that water in trucks and delivering that water with trucks to the JoJo tanks, and those trucks that are delivering that water, they are getting paid lots of millions every month.
The local government department says it's dealing with the issue.
We are aware of the service delivery challenges in this area. The water problems we have been battling for the last 2 weeks to stabilize the water situation. We are also looking at the wastewater treatment plant situations around here. But of course, we will go into all the issues that they have raised in the memorandums for the 2 municipalities, and will definitely respond to all those issues.
They must know we are the voters.
What started as a peaceful march had quickly turned chaotic amid a heavy police presence. Sanko and the community have given the powers that be 3 days to meet their demands, or they say the honeymoon will be over. Michael Apple in Vryburg in the Northwest.
A bitter feud is underway between former tax boss Tom Moyane and the Public Enterprises Minister, this time over Moyane's application to cross-examine Pravin Gordhan at the State Capture inquiry. Now, Gordhan's lawyers argue that the issues outlined in Moyane's application have already been addressed by the Nugent Commission of Inquiry into SARS operations. But Moyane's lawyer, Advocate Dali Mpofu, says Gordhan must be cross-examined to protect his client's integrity. The chair of the commission, Justice Raymond Zondo, has reserved judgment in the matter.
There's an attempt to pull the wool over the eyes of this commission.
Time should not be spent and money should not be spent on consoling Mr. Moyane's feelings.
The only way that Mr. Moyane can defend his integrity and his rights against such accusations of, just take any example of the what I term as criminal activity, can but only be done in cross-examination.
Still ahead on eNews, school violence not just a sad reality here in South Africa. Distraught families in Brazil are trying to come to terms with the death of 8 people shot at an elementary school in Sao Paulo.
And in your business news, the rand was mixed this afternoon, faring slightly worse against the pound, this despite uncertainty around Brexit.
Let's get all your business news now with Rafiwe. Good evening to you, Rafiwe. And last night, of course, Theresa May, another resounding no for her Brexit deal. So really uncertain road ahead for the United Kingdom. But what does it mean, if we know at all, for our trade relations with the UK?
And that's a very good question, Sally, because 40% of our exports go to the UK. We are the second biggest trading partner with them. So it's very unclear waters in terms of what's going to happen. But Minister Rob Davies, our Minister of Trade and Industry, did indicate that they are in the process of finalising a deal which should be done by Friday in terms of protecting South Africa's trade deal with the EU as well as the UK. But let's just listen to a bite where he speaks about the implications of what would happen if it was a hard Brexit.
If they crash out on the 29th of March or some other time, they crash out or they just leave without an agreement, let's put it that way, if they leave without an agreement, then they would revert to the schedule that is put in by the European Union into the WTO in the 1990s. And in a number of cases, the tariffs would be higher than they are charged under, than we would be charged under the Economic Partnership Agreement.
The deal you mentioned, will that make sure that doesn't happen?
That will make sure that we have a lot of the things that we do import not getting tariffed any higher. But if it doesn't happen, we're looking at 10% higher in tariffs on agricultural products, wines and cars. And the Minister did also highlight that we may see a reduction in exports to the UK just because we cannot afford those tariffs.
Oh dear, that is potentially worrying news. Let's hope that our deal with the UK takes place on Friday.
Yes, on Friday.
Let's hope so. How are the markets doing today?
So the markets fared a little better today after yesterday. The JSE did close higher with gains by the miners, and this as British political chaos pushed investors towards a safe haven asset. So this means that global markets were under pressure today and traders are set to remain cautious. If we take a look at your commodities, could oil reach the $70 a barrel mark? Well, more supply cuts in Saudi Arabia and the lack of production in Venezuela point to this reality. Meanwhile, gold is getting support from uncertainty around Brexit. When we take a look at the rand now, it weakened against the dollar as well as the pound today, and this as investors stay away from riskier assets and keep a close eye on those developments around Brexit. Sally.
Yes, wherever they may lead us. Thank you very much, Rafiwe Madzena. Let's take a look at international news now. And at least 8 people, including 5 children, have been killed in a shooting at an elementary school in Brazil. Several other children were injured and have been taken to hospital. Police say 2 armed teenagers entered the school in the morning and started firing at random. And in the United States, more than 50 people have been charged in connection with a college admissions scam. Prosecutors say the multi-billion rand scheme was headed by one William Rick Singer. Now, he allegedly helped wealthy American parents cheat and bribe their children's way into elite universities. Some of the parents implicated include Hollywood stars such as Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, as well as some top industry CEOs. Well, still ahead, we'll go to Candice at our Weather Centre for your live weather report, and then the Johannesburg Zoo's family is growing bigger with the arrival of these furry little, not so little creatures. All your weather news now. Candice standing by in Cape Town. Candice, has it been a dramatic weather day?
Hi Sally, well it's actually been relatively quiet in South Africa today. Most of the drama happening outside of our borders whilst we track tropical cyclone Idai, which is over the Mozambican Channel, and that will actually make landfall on Thursday. But for South Africa, we're only really expecting a few showers along parts of the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal coastline on Thursday. We're also expecting some morning fog over the northeastern and eastern interior, as well as along the west coast. And then in the afternoon, we'll see a few isolated thundershowers forming across the interior from the Northern Cape, possibly extending through to the Eastern Cape coastline. So here are those isolated thundershowers over much of the Northern Cape. Upington at 38, 29 for Colesberg. Alexander Bay expecting a high of 23 degrees under some fog. Dry for much of the Western Cape, a mostly clear and warm day for Cape Town at 27, 30 for Worcester, and a few showers into George at 23 degrees. It'll be a cooler day throughout the Eastern Cape. Isolated thunder showers are expected here, possibly extending through to the coast and East London at 24. A few isolated thunder showers also remain over the interior part of KwaZulu-Natal, with showers for Port Shepstone and Durban at 27 and 30 degrees. A bit of morning rain starts of the day for Bombela and Skukuza, with a dry and warm to hot day for the rest of the province. You'll also see dry weather persisting for much of Limpopo. Other than some morning rain for Thohoyandou and Phalaborwa, and you'll see maximum temperatures heading into the mid-30s over the western part of the province. Potchefstroom at 34 in the afternoon. A warm night is in store in Mahikeng with a minimum temperature of 20 and a high of 32. The Free State can expect thunder showers over the western and southern parts. Partly cloudy and hot for Welkom at 33 degrees. Gauteng can expect a dry day on Thursday with a maximum temperature of around 30 and a bit of cloud overhead. Then as we head towards the end of the work week, we're expecting dry weather to persist for Gauteng. Sunny and hot over the western part, of the chance of thunderstorms mainly over the southeastern and eastern part of South Africa. And by Saturday, we'll see thunderstorms mainly over KwaZulu-Natal. Partly cloudy and dry for most weather stations across South Africa with a hot afternoon. That's all from the Weather Centre. Have a good night, Sally.
Thank you, you as well. Candice McKechnie there in Cape Town. And finally, the Johannesburg Zoo has a few more additions to the family. As part of its 115th birthday celebrations, the zoo's welcomed 4 tiger cubs, a puma cub and a giraffe calf to its clan. Sekho Hajamoahi had a peek at the new kids on the block.
The Joburg Zoo family is growing.
I imagine the same situation though. Yeah.
But the puma and tiger cubs aren't the only newbies. The zoos also welcomed a not-so-little giraffe calf. All this is part of the park's 150th anniversary. The world's Siberian tiger population is dwindling fast, so preserving them for future generations is an important component for the zoo.
All 4 of them are females, so we can only keep so much because looking at the cost-wise and the space, we can only keep 2 females and look for a genetically unrelated male to continue the breeding of tigers, because there's only quite few of them left in the wild, and the other 2, we will be sending them out to other conservation facilities.
For now, the cubs can enjoy playing and basking in the sun. Sekho Hajamoahi, Johannesburg.
Before we go, let's recap your top stories this evening. A 13-year-old has been arrested this evening for stabbing a 19-year-old Mondeor schoolboy to death. Prepare for commuter chaos from Friday in Soweto. The Transport MEC has made good on his promise to shut down 6 taxi routes due to violence. And the ANC defends its candidate list ahead of the May election, which includes people implicated in state capture. From me and the team, it's a very good night.